one thing that I really wish everybody that came here knew.
What's that?
The unwritten rules of camping.
Unwritten rules of camping. What would you call them? What would you think that would be?
Well, there's certain things that when you're camping in this sort of situation you don't do, or that you do.
Fair enough.
And you won't find them on a signboard anywhere. And I wish we had an expert that could help us define what those are. Someone that spent a lot of time in the outdoors.
That would be nice.
Well, hi.
Where did you come from?
Back yonder.
Back yonder?
Back yonder.
Way back yonder. The whole other end of this campground.
The whole other end of this campground.
And
Sty North just poof out of nowhere.
just out of nowhere, I decided I was going to break proper etiquette and just storm in on your camp, unannounced, plop a chair down and make myself at home with whether you want me here or not.
That sounds like one of those unwritten rules.
It does.
Doesn't it?
It does.
Hi, folks. Hi, folks. Hi, folks. It's good to see y'all. Here we are out at camp. These two asked me to have a discussion with them for you folks, for your benefit, about some of the unwritten rules in the outdoors and camping. And I was thrilled. I told them, I want to hear what they have to say.
And we want your input too, because
Yeah.
you've been around the outdoors for a long time as well, and you probably have a few rules that we don't even know about.
Maybe.
Maybe. You mentioned the first one, coming into somebody else's camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes way back. I mean, literally centuries, that you don't walk into somebody's campsite unannounced. You want to make sure that the people that are keeping that campsite are aware that someone is entering into their campsite. We don't camp expecting strangers to just wander in. So you hail the camp, you say, "Hello, camp. Anybody in camp?" You get a response, they'll say, "Yeah, come on in." Then enter their camp, but don't just think that you have the right to walk into their camp and intrude upon them.
Let me throw a scenario at you, Sty, because this is what really got me thinking about this. When we were camping in Michigan with my parents and my brother and their families, what we had happening is we had lakeside sites, but there was a public space behind them that people could walk. And there was 3 different ways to get to that space.
Now that public space was between the campsites and the lake. So that was kind of like public lake access right behind
Sure.
the campsite. So it wasn't campsite only access.
Right.
And what was happening is these people that wanted to get to that public space, if we were all sitting around my fire pit, well, my brother's camper and his truck is on the site next to that, and my parents' camper and their truck was behind us, and we had people cutting through those sites.
Instead of taking that trail,
Right.
they would just take the shortcut through your
And
site.
when we would call them out, they would say, "Oh, I just got to go to the bathroom."
Well, that's fine, but this is my space.
Right.
I'm paying for this.
That's right. And even outside of an established campground, let's say you're boondocking,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you're out there, there's nobody else anywhere around.
Yeah.
And you were off doing something, and somebody came in and found a spot to boondock close by you,
Mm-hmm.
and they realize you have a camp over there.
Yeah.
But then they also realize, oh, there's a little lake back there, but it's quicker to just cut through that guy's camp.
Mm-hmm.
You come walking into camp and you find a stranger in the middle of your camp.
Yeah.
What do you think? Where does your mind go? And again, it's just proper behavior and etiquette in campsites.
Right.
And you folks being hosts have a unique situation because
We do.
you get
Yeah.
to see so many of the bad habits.
The bad examples. Yeah.
Yes.
Because, I mean, and you're right. Our situation is unique because people are going to come onto our site.
Yeah.
And we do have people as they're coming up, they'll say, "Sorry to interrupt. Can we? I got a question." And then we just have people that come right in unannounced.
Right,
And it's unique because we are the hosts. We are available at any time.
I was just gonna say, and as the host, that's expected.
Right.
And to be fair, a lot of times, even when they're coming in from this side around the camper, they're calling out so we know they're there.
Right.
And not to sound too extremist about this, but to me it also seems like a safety standpoint.
Yes.
Not just proper etiquette,
Right.
but safety. Because I mean, if I'm boondocking
Yeah.
and someone comes onto my site
That you don't even know.
that I don't know,
Yeah. And
it's.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm going to be the one to react first, but you never know.
You
Right,
never know.
right.
You never know. And you don't know their intent. either.
Right, exactly.
Because it's not a welcoming type of contact.
Right.
Where if they're saying, "Hey, in the camp, hi," that's friendly, and it's
Right.
You don't know if that person's friendly or if they're confrontational. You don't know.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, and that's an important thing. I think
Right.
is that always respect the other person's campsite,
Yes.
Yes.
and you have the right to expect that of yours too.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
To be reciprocal.
Well, because when you're out camping, that site is now your home, your space.
It is. It is. You rented it.
Exactly.
If you rent a home, it's your home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You rent a campsite, it's your campsite.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
You do have one campsite here at Black Lake, 20,
Yes.
where the trail literally comes, it heads right at the campsite. It ends about 10 feet away from the
Yep.
campsite, and it takes an abrupt right and it heads down the hill.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there's another trail that from the campsite that goes down that same hill
Yep.
to where you would keep your canoe or whatever.
Right.
And they get confused and they'll get to that V
Yep.
and they get confused and they'll turn and they'll walk right through your campsite because they don't want to go down just to the lake. They
They
want
want to keep walking along
Right.
the trail. And
trail and
make a wrong
they
turn.
don't realize the trail's at the bottom of that hill,
Yeah.
so they just go, we'll walk back out to the road. So they'll walk right through the campsite.
Yep.
Yeah.
But all the times I've been in 20, everybody that's ever done that always said, do you mind if we cut through?
And that's completely different.
And I'm like, go right ahead. But then I'll ask them, are you trying to follow the trail? Because that's usually why.
Yeah.
And they'll
Yep.
go, well, yeah, but it ends here. No, it doesn't. You go down that trail
Yep.
by my boat, take a left.
Yep.
It goes along the edge of the lake.
Yep.
Yep.
And those types of things, it's a cooperative kind
Right.
of frame of
Right.
mind you need
Well,
to
and
have.
that brings up Site 19
Yes.
because the trail literally goes right
Right.
through the back of
Yeah.
that site.
Site,
Yeah.
right? It does.
And I've walked that a few times, and I've always felt weird when I get close to that.
Because you're
And-
walking right through their space.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'll do what you say. You know, as I'm getting close, I'll say, "Hey, I'm walking through on the trail."
Yeah.
Just so you don't
so they
startle
know
anybody.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Just so they know. Hey, on another subject,
Yeah.
because to me it's a hot topic.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
There's two of them.
Yep.
It's the trash in sites
Yes.
Yes.
and how people disrespect the restrooms in campgrounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those two
yes.
issues.
But-
What are the unspoken rules? Come on, folks.
Well, and
Yeah.
I would argue that these aren't even unspoken rules.
They're just common
because
courtesies.
It
it's
is.
in the rules that you
Yeah.
don't burn garbage.
You're
You-
right.
You don't
it's-
leave
it's-
garbage laying around. You
Yeah.
pick up after yourselves. You don't leave an unattended
Fire.
fire
Or dog.
or dog.
Or
You
dog.
know, I mean, so those are all,
And
like
the
Trevor
thing
said,
is,
written down rules.
they're written, but do they need to be written?
They shouldn't.
shouldn't
no.
be.
Because every one of those are so, like Stephanie had said, every one of those are pure common sense rules.
Yep.
Would you do that on your own place? Would you do that at your own home? Would you do that in your backyard? No, you wouldn't.
Right.
No.
So why would you do it here? And so many do. They'll leave garbage around.
The common excuse that I hear is, "Oh, well, it was biodegradable."
Yeah.
It's burnable.
Well, let's talk about that, because the reason for the don't burn your garbage rule is the impact that it has.
Right.
Those chemicals from your wax paper plate leach into the water
Yeah.
table.
Yeah, there's inks, there's
Yeah.
all kinds of polymers and things that are added to products that you think are just plain paper, and you
it's
burn
not.
it in there.
Yeah.
You're releasing all those chemicals, plus there's latent chemicals remaining in the
Right.
fire pit.
Yeah.
And the next person wants to come and eat
And
over
cook
that.
over
Right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but see, that's the stuff we can't clean up.
No.
Right.
When I go and clean a site, yeah, I can pick up that biodegradable
Aluminum
waste.
foil,
I can pick
all
up the
that-
aluminum foil. I can pick up the bottle
The
caps and
physical
all that.
pieces can be picked up.
But what I can't fix when we clean a site is what's in that pit, what
If they
leached into the ground.
contaminated it, right? If they
Right.
contaminated the pit into the soil, unless you come in here and excavate that every time
Well,
a camper uses
now that
it.
actually brings up another point. When the pits get full, they get shoveled out.
Right.
So now you're moving whatever's been contaminated
You're relocating
in there to out in the woods.
Woods.
Yep.
Right. It's being relocated.
Oh, I did, and this is just, I didn't even bring this up to you, and this is a good time. Okay, on my site,
Yep.
folks, we're talking about the site I'm in today.
We're
this-
talking
this
about
week.
where the Sty Shack is.
Where's Sty Shack's at? Well, when I got here, I told you I took a walk back in the woods exploring, just
Yep.
Yep.
exploring, and I found a pile of polyplastic, sheet plastic,
Right.
big pile of it, and with it, I thought that was rolled roofing.
Yeah.
You know what it was? It was rubber matting.
Oh.
Huh.
And I finally figured out what that stuff was. Is somebody had used that campsite, and the way the poly plastic broke apart when I tried to pick it up, that stuff, it takes about 4 or 5 years before that stuff breaks down to where it's brittle.
Right.
Right.
And it was brittle. It broke
Okay.
into tiny pieces if you handled it. So it's been there a long time, way before you guys ever
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
were
Right.
out here hosting. And then the light came on yesterday. That mat, they had it outside their camper.
Yep.
That poly was used as a tarp.
Oh,
Betcha.
yeah.
And it probably got trashed during a storm or something, and they just balled it up and took it out in the woods and stashed it.
Why would you do that? There's a dumpster.
Because they're too lazy to walk that, 100 feet to the dumpster?
From your
down there?
site to
From
the
your site?
dumpsters, yeah,
Probably
100,
about that,
150
yeah.
feet.
Yeah, it's very close. In fact, I can see the dumpster.
Yeah, you
And I
can.
can hear if somebody's opening and closing them down
Yep.
there. And so there's no excuse.
Yeah.
No excuse. And that's the same with the fire pits. Like I told you at my site, off into the woods, it's hard to see, but like you said, I've been out doing this stuff for years around in the woods.
Right.
That stuff kind of pops out at me
Yeah.
where it
Yeah.
doesn't for most people. I found, oh boy, about a fourth of a 13-gallon bag full of crunched up tinfoil in
Right.
the brush. A lot of it was starting to get it down into the dirt. It's been there
It's
so
been there
long.
for a while.
But again, people are balling up their tinfoil at the fire pit, just throwing it in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why in the world would you do that? So if you go in the backyard and barbecue and you're
Right.
using tinfoil, you take it off your barbecue, ball it up, and just throw it in your yard,
Right.
Yeah. Or throw it in the grill.
or throw it back in the grill.
Yeah.
Let's cook on top of that next
Yeah.
time.
Right.
And yeah, again, that's
It's a written rule, but it's one I just don't understand how it's not being followed.
Right.
right. And that's why I asked, does it
Right.
have to be written? Because it's so common sense
Well,
that
yeah.
it's
And you mentioned the bathrooms. You heard some of the horror stories, and
Oh, yeah.
Sty says that he thinks I was way too nice in the COVID camper video.
he was very too nice.
But some of the things that we've dealt with in the bathrooms. First of all, I understand accidents happen. So if you
Yes.
actually have an explosion that
Yeah.
makes a mess, that happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Just come tell me so I can clean
Yeah,
it up before it dries.
It's a
Right.
lot easier to clean up.
Don't leave it for others unaware.
Yes.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
there are others that will be willing to clean it up,
Yep.
but they'd sure like to know about it when it happens, not
Yes.
a day later.
It makes cleanup so much easier. Yeah, it can be kind of embarrassing. I understand that.
Right.
But it happens to we all
We all
have
get
those
sick.
moments.
We all get sick.
Yeah. And accidents do happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And people have to realize that if they've got a campground with a host, they go to the host and say, "Oh man, you know,
Yeah.
I had loose bowels. I couldn't help it, and I made a mess."
Yep.
That
Yeah.
host isn't going to be driving through the campground yelling out the window, "Yeah, the camper's on number 12. They got someone that
Decimated
They
the
decimated
bathroom.
the outhouse
Yeah,
over here.
exactly.
You got to go
No.
look at that mess."
I'm gonna
No.
discreetly go clean
We'll
it
get
up.
our stuff
Yes.
and we'll go clean it up. End of story.
That shed
And this-
behind us
right.
has got all my cleaning
Yeah.
supplies. If
Yep.
somebody came on site right now and said, "Hey, the bathroom across from Site 9 needs some attention," I'd grab my bucket, I'd grab my tools,
you'd
and I'd
take
throw
care
them in
of
the
it.
back of the truck, and I'd go take
Off you
care of
go.
it. No questions
Yeah.
asked.
And that's it, is you're fully equipped to handle those
Right.
situations. It's when people don't act responsibly
Right.
and
Yep.
leave a nasty mess for you.
That then dries, and it's really hard to get it cleaned up then.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
and you
next
walk
day.
in on it. You
Yes.
don't.
Yeah.
Nobody told you about it. You just walked in on it. And
Right, and I'll admit, when I walk in on that, I get a little mad.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you?
Right.
I feel the same way when I find trash out in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
I see it and I get angry about it.
Right.
And I pick it up, and
Right.
that's part of being angry is, why am I undoing something someone shouldn't have ever done in the first
Right.
place?
Mm-hmm.
And I see you folks doing that all the time when you, after a guest leaves, you come into their campsite, and what are you doing? You're cleaning up. And people don't, they just don't understand all these little items, bottle caps,
The little wrapper that you tore
Right.
off your candy bar.
little wrapper, cigarette butts.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm a smoker. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm a chain smoker. You ain't gonna find cigarette butts in
No.
my camp.
Mm-mm.
But you know what? How often a sight of a smoker, I'll find that fire pit full of
Full.
20, 30, 40 cigarette butts.
Yes.
Full of them.
Where do you think who's got to pick them up?
Well, and I can't stand this mentality. Oh well, they'll burn up. Well, actually, come over to my campsite and I'll take a little steel plate
Yep.
and we're gonna burn some cigarette butts, and you show me how well they burn up.
Yeah.
They don't burn well. Not to
No.
mention, let's go back to the conversation we had
About
about chemicals.
contaminating
Chemicals
your
and the
pit.
Contamination.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, at home, do you throw a bunch of cigarette butts on your
On your
gas
stove?
burner before
Yeah.
you cook your dinner over it? No, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
No. Why
And the
would you
way
do that
I
here?
look at it is if you don't throw your cigarette butts in my fire pit, I won't pee in your ashtray.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Because
a good
you're
way
not
to put
supposed
it.
to pee in the ashtray either.
No.
But for crying out loud, you're not supposed to throw your butts in
Right.
the yeah.
So here's another unwritten rule that, as someone that uses a camper,
Mhm.
I wish people were more aware of. Knocking on my door. The difference between knocking on my door at home and knocking on my door here is, at home you get a little glimpse of my house.
Yeah.
Here, when I open that door,
The world is wide open.
my whole home
Yeah.
is visible. So when you knock on my door, yeah, I mean, 2 o'clock in the morning, you need my help, that's fine. Knock on my door. I'm here to help. But you knock on the door, and then you step back
Back.
5 to 6 feet.
Stay away
Because then
from the
all you're
door.
going to see is the other side of the entry.
Right.
Yep.
But if you're right up against that door,
Yeah.
Yep.
and you open it, is exactly what you said. You're going to see a minimum of 3/4 of the
Yep.
interior of
Yep.
that trailer.
Of my home.
And one thing I did find too is when you're knocking on somebody's trailer,
Hmm.
and the host gets it more than anybody around
Right.
the campground. At home versus at camp, the difference. That door is that thick.
Yeah.
That door at home is that thick.
Yeah.
The door at home's got a door knocker on it. Bang, 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 bang. Because
For a
it takes
reason.
that much to hear it in the
Yeah.
house.
You don't need
here you can go tap tap tap, and it sounds like boom boom boom
It
Right.
does,
in
yes.
the trailer.
Right.
I've had people, scare me right out of my shorts
Yeah.
because they rap on my door like they're knocking on a
Right.
house door,
Yeah.
Right.
and it scares me to half to death.
Well, and with our trailer with just the canvas bunks, I mean, chances are if you just say, "Hey, I'm out here," I'm gonna
We're
hear
gonna
you.
hear
You're
you.
gonna hear them. Yep, exactly.
I mean, unless it's
Exactly.
pouring rain and just
Yep.
sounds, in which case it's really loud in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna hear you.
right. And my little trailer, it's that little door
Yep.
slider window. I usually have that open when
Yeah.
I'm in the trailer,
Yeah.
and I can hear anything out. I can hear that Frankenmonk, that must that
Frankenmonk. I can't wait
Frankenmonk,
till you
that's
tell the
just-
side story of that
Yeah,
thing.
no
that
kidding.
chipmunk is a terror. But I can hear him. I can actually hear him going tit, 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 back and forth outside my trailer door through
Yeah.
that little window. And people don't realize that, yeah, it protects you from the weather, but it doesn't protect
No.
you from all the sound
No.
out there.
And talking about the sound, volume in the campground during non-quiet
Yes.
hours.
Yes.
That's
So, just to
Yeah.
preface this campground has quiet hours from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Most campgrounds
Most-
have some sort of
Yeah.
quiet
I notice
hours, so
the
it's
same hours
But
at Moose and
Yep.
yeah,
East
I think
Wind.
that's most of
I
at
think
least
it's
the
pretty
national
standard
forest
for
and
national forest.
Yeah.
at least this area.
Yeah.
Other areas could be different, but state
Yeah.
parks are different than what we
Yeah.
have here. But
And that's pretty reasonable, 10 o'clock and 6 a.m.
yeah,
I wish it was 8 a.m.
Yeah.
yeah,
Instead of 6 a.m.
So, it says right in the rules, no generators, no music, blah, 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 during those hours. But there's a line on there that I want to explain. I don't remember exactly how it's worded, but it's something to the effect of no sounds that would disrupt other campers during non-quiet time hours.
Right.
And what I'm going to define that as, there's several different avenues we can go down, but the
yeah.
example I'm going to use right off the bat is a couple of weeks ago there were folks in the campground. It's 9 o'clock at night. I heard them on this site, which is over 100 feet from the next closest site, and there's a dam between us.
Right.
the
And
dam's
that's
actually
flowing,
pretty
that's got
quiet.
water
It's
flowing
actually
over it.
pretty quiet right now, but
Yeah.
then we had just gotten a lot of rain, so,
So it was roaring.
it was yeah
I heard them over all of that.
Yeah.
inside.
The neighbors did not say anything. I said something
Yeah.
because I felt bad for them. It was
Yeah.
an older couple just trying to enjoy their fire as the people next to them were playing beer pong and yelling and whooping and having. I tried to hail the camp when I walked in. They couldn't hear me.
They couldn't hear you.
I had to get from me to the cameras away and go, "Folks," in order to get their attention.
Yeah.
And I explained to them that, look, yes, I realize it's 9 o'clock
Right.
and quiet time doesn't start till 10. But if I can hear you
Right.
from the host site over 100 feet away,
Again,
you're too loud.
that doesn't need to be a written rule.
No.
Right.
Because if quiet time's at 10, that's not like a bewitching hour where 10 o'clock you're turning into a pumpkin. No, 10 o'clock, by 10 o'clock,
Yep.
it needs to be quiet in camp.
Yep.
So it's reasonable to expect that starting around 9 o'clock,
Right.
you're going to start slowly turning that volume
Yeah.
down
Yep.
and get it down to 0 before it hits 10 o'clock.
Yep.
So at 9 o'clock, and people are so loud that they're disrupting their neighbor, aren't respecting that
Right.
unwritten rule
Right.
that we're required. That's in the rules.
Yeah.
That's in
Yeah.
the written rules that you're supposed to respect the enjoyment of the.
Yeah,
Your-
don't
your neighbor.
Don't be so loud that you disrupt the enjoyment of your neighbors, I think is how it's put.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And
yeah.
examples I can come up with that I feel violate that rule are, like I said, hooting
Yeah.
and hollering and playing beer pong
At 2 in the afternoon.
at 2 in the afternoon
And
to the point where I can
So
hear you over here.
someone's hearing that all day,
Yep.
Right.
and then it goes into after dark.
Right.
Yep.
And so what? It's an hour before 10 o'clock.
Right.
We've had to listen to it all day.
We're tired of it.
We're tired
Yeah.
of it. It's time to tone it down and now allow others to enjoy what they came for.
Right. Another example would be last year, we were on Site 21, and I believe it was Site 24 had set up a big stereo that was running off of a generator, and they were blasting music out over the lake to their friends that were fishing.
Uh-huh. So they could hear it out on the water.
Right.
Yep.
And so could the whole campground.
Sure. See, now I was in a campground. It wasn't this one. I'm glad you didn't have to deal with that one. But a big RV, about a 40-footer,
Yeah.
motorhome came in, backed into the site next to me, and I'm sitting around the fire pit, and it's about 8:30,
Yeah.
and it's dark, and all of a sudden, off the side of that big RV, this big screen comes down, and they got a projector set up, and it looked like a drive-in theater,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got full surround sound. And I'm
Immersive,
like-
I'm sure.
And I'm like, what are they doing? And they start watching a movie. I'm going, that movie's at least an hour and a half long. That'll put them at 10:30.
Yeah.
So are they going to shut that thing down at 10 o'clock sharp? Well, of course they didn't.
No, and they
Yeah.
probably had a generator going to power
They
all
had
that.
it. They did. And you could hear the generator running, and they had the volume cranked. Well, actually, you could hear that movie. And the worst part was it lit up about 6 campsites.
Oh, I believe it.
All the light off that screen. It was huge. It was the size
Yeah.
of their darn RV.
Jeez.
And finally I got fed up and I ran over there and I go, you guys got to shut this down.
Yeah.
It's got to be shut down.
It's
Yeah.
disruptive.
And I got called everything under the sun. I was terrible. I was a nasty person. On and on. And I told him, I said, at that time I was very fully employed.
Yeah.
And I told him, this is my escape.
Yeah.
I came here to get away from that kind of
Yeah.
disruption and noise.
Right.
And all the light and everything. I wanted the light of a campfire, and that's it.
Right.
I said, so I'm the bad guy because I don't want you to bring the city into
To
my
my
campsite.
camp.
Right.
And I think that everybody that's in a campground has absolutely the right to expect their campsite to be outdoors,
Right.
Right.
not the city,
Right.
not a movie theater, not
Right.
not a bar
Right.
with a bunch of ruckus. And again, those are rules, like you had said, that don't need to be written. They're not. Some of
Right.
them aren't even written rules. They're just common human respect for each other.
Well, and I think maybe part of the issue and concern with the volume and noise during the day is it's daytime hours, so you don't give it that extra thought.
Right.
So to take a couple of extra seconds, because it doesn't take minutes, to sit there and think, okay, where's my volume at?
Right.
Am I, I understand you're outside, you're going to get loud.
Yeah.
You gotta hear yourself over.
You're
the wind.
always
Yeah,
always
exactly.
louder.
You've got more room, and it
Yeah.
doesn't hold the sound as much. But once you get out into the trees, that echoes and reverberates, and then if you're on a lake, you've got that big open area to
The
carry
sound
it
just
even more.
projects.
Yes.
So
Because I mean, there's been times that we've been able to eavesdrop on conversations in the middle of the lake.
Oh yeah.
Because it
They'll,
just
they'll be out in a
travels.
boat, and you can hear everything they're saying, just like they're right here at the shoreline.
yeah.
Yep.
So even though it may be
And it's not that we're trying to listen
No.
in. It's
No,
just like,
it's
it's
oh,
just the
it's
way
so
the sound
clear.
is traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even though it may be a written rule, but not really,
Right.
it's I think something that gets overlooked
right.
Right. People
More than
don't think of it.
anything, and it's,
Right.
they're
Well-
enjoying their time out here, which is fine.
That was that example I gave you over at my campsite. This week, there were some campers, and they were quiet. They were there for a day and
Yep.
a night. And I could hear them once in a while talk. And then this fella shows up, and he pulled into the site next to him, farther away from me.
Right.
And then I heard these two fellas kind of yelling at each other, and I thought, man,
Oh, yeah.
that's
Oh,
loud.
yeah.
That's loud. That's so terribly loud, and it's
Obnoxious.
late evening, and
Yeah.
and I thought, oh, I hope that don't go into the night. And well, and they never lowered their tone. Then at first I thought maybe they're yelling at each other,
Mm-hmm.
mad.
Right.
And then I realized, no, that's just a conversation, and they're that loud.
Right.
But they must be doing it across the two sites, back and forth, yelling back and forth to each other.
Right.
So I took a stroll up there, and I looked. They were sitting as far as you and I are sitting apart,
Yelling at each other.
yelling at each other. I never heard two men that loud, that close to each other, unless they're ready to punch each other.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, they were just having a conversation. And I thought, my Lord, oh, that in my house you would have got tossed right out the back door. No way could you talk that loud, that close to somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
And you had mentioned, well, I wonder if they were hard of hearing or anything. But neither one of them seemed, because they talked. There was a gal there, and when they talked with her, it was at a normal tone.
Right.
But when they talked to each other, they were yelling, just
Right.
loud.
Interesting.
And I thought, all right, and you're right, Stephanie. They didn't hesitate to think, how loud am I?
Yeah.
How
Right.
loud
Yeah.
am I being? You know, and where am I?
Right.
Right.
It's like you don't yell at in church.
Right.
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 Somebody's going to throw you out. And,
Right.
and out here sometimes people just want a little bit of peace and quiet.
Right.
And speaking of peace and quiet, let's talk about my favorite topic: generators.
There you go.
I mean, obviously, there's the quiet out time from 10 to 6, and there are exceptions to that rule, but generally there's ways around even meeting that exception.
Right.
But if you're gonna run a generator in a campground, I think there's a couple of unwritten rules. One, if the Jenny is running, somebody better be on the site.
Yes,
Oh yeah.
I do agree with that.
Why should it run if you're not there?
I'm making ribs. That was the one I heard a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And fine, okay, you're making ribs. I don't quite understand it, but
Right.
Unless they were using maybe an electric smoker grill.
maybe.
Yeah.
But then I would still think you'd want to be there.
You would
Right.
think, but ribs.
I got a couple YouTube videos they could watch where a bear could go right into a hot barbecue, flip the lid up on a hot gas barbecue, and steal 2 steaks off of it. And I mean, they were steaming hot steaks.
Right,
and
he just grabbed
he
and walked
drug
away.
them off and picked them both up in his mouth and took off. So I wouldn't have anything
Yeah.
cooking and not be
Right.
around.
Yeah.
And then too is, why would you want, if it's in your camper cooking,
Right.
Yeah.
why would you want that heat source going in your camper if
While
you're
you're
not
not
present
there.
when you're not there? And the generator sitting there running, there's things that can go wrong,
There are.
Oh yeah.
and you should always be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, I mean, that one, to me, that's something that doesn't need to be written.
Right.
Yeah.
But I've seen it multiple times.
Yeah.
Right,
So
people
the last
walk
couple
away
of
from 'em.
years.
The last couple of years, I mean, there was a guy that camped next to us with a big fifth wheel, run that generator all day. He'd be gone fishing and or who knows what. I mean,
Yeah.
his truck was gone and everything.
Yeah.
The generator was running.
Yep.
And then, come
Yeah.
quiet hours, you'd hear him watching a movie in his camper off the batteries. And it's like, okay, you were charging batteries. But that ties into the next issue when it comes to generators. Yes, I understand that the big open frame industrial generators are cheap.
Yeah.
I get that.
Loud.
They're also
They're very loud.
really loud. There was a gentleman in this campground last year
Yep.
that had an open frame construction generator in the back of his truck that I could hear up on site 21, and he was down around, was he on 13? He might have been on 13.
No, I don't think he was down that far, but he was close to that area.
He was in the vicinity of the center of the campground,
Uh-huh.
which means if I could hear him, everybody
Everybody.
could hear him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, that's another unwritten rule. Now, I've got to do some investigating because I did ask at one point. I believe the National Park Service has a decibel rating that your generator can't be any louder
Sure.
than. and it's a pretty generous number.
Uh-huh.
I think it's like mid-80s,
Uh-huh.
and that's loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know about the national forest,
Right.
but I don't recall seeing anything in the rules.
Right.
So if you're going to run a generator, and yes, like I said, I understand those construction generators are cheap,
Yep.
but so is the Predator that's in the background,
Yeah.
and that thing's as quiet as the Honda next to it,
Right.
or as you put it yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, it's quieter than the Honda.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I could sleep. It would put me to sleep if it was next to my
Yeah.
camper. The way it purrs
Yeah.
instead of, it's not a disruptive kind
No.
of sound.
no,
So that, Jenny, you could have it running all day if you're doing all kinds of electrical things
Yeah.
in your
Yep.
camp,
watching a movie on a
And-
rainy day.
Yeah.
and you would never get somebody upset with
No.
you.
No,
But an open frame generator,
no, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
would even say those digital hybrids that you see.
oh yeah,
They're basically an inverter generator without all the insulation.
right,
They're still loud.
loud. Another thing is 2-cycle generator.
Yes, I think there's one in here this week.
Oh really?
Yes.
I don't know why anybody wants a 2-cycle generator to start with. Nobody likes messing with having to use mixed fuel.
No.
And 2-cycle doesn't perform well unless it's at a high RPM.
Unless it's running flat out.
It's got to be running full bore.
Well, and you can smell it.
And then you get the oil smell off of it because it's burning up mixed fuel. It's going to stink.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, a 2-cycle engine, gas engine, stinks worse than a diesel.
I would agree with that.
The,
Yeah.
the diesel doesn't bother me near as much. The 2-cycles is almost an acidic smell.
Yes,
And yeah, why people use 2-cycle,
they're cheap.
that
You can get a $100 one, a 900 watt
Yeah.
generator for $100 at Harbor Freight.
and again though, the decibel ratings 80 plus
Mhm.
on those right from the get-go.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a quiet one. There's no such, I don't think there is such a thing
No.
as a quiet 2-cycle. Now, does that mean you shouldn't own one? Well, sure, you can have one.
Yeah.
If you're out boondocking, you're not
Yeah.
around other people anywhere.
Well, and they're great
Go
little
ahead.
portable, for tailgating
Emergencies
or
or,
emergencies.
yeah,
They
But-
have
I
their
mean, that-
place.
they
That-
have their place, but not
That
in
Predator's
a campground
heavy. If
like
I'm going to
this.
go to a Brewer game, I'm not going to throw that in the back
No,
of the truck. I'm going to
no.
take a little.
And you're
little
going somewhere where it's so doggone loud and everybody's drinking so much beer they don't care.
Exactly.
So it makes sense. But in this application, again, it's mutual respect for your neighbors that are so close to you,
Right.
and just some common sense. And so many rules are written, and there's so many rules that still could be written,
Right.
Yeah.
but it's a shame that we have to write them
Yeah.
Right.
in the first place. We shouldn't have to have those written rules. People should just be responsible for themselves
Right.
and do the right things.
Be a decent human being.
Just be
Yeah.
decent. Yeah.
So
Just be
2
decent.
more, and then I'm out of them. When you come to a camp with kids, especially something like this where there's other people around, when it starts to get dark, kids, like we were saying, don't have that regulation of volume.
Right.
I feel like parents need to do a better job of monitoring and regulating their kids,
Right.
especially as it gets later in the day.
Yeah.
There was a group in here mid-July, I believe, that I woke up at midnight to the sounds of kids unsupervised, and when I say kids, I'm talking like Virginia's age,
Uh huh.
fishing off the dam
Oh, they're down there at the dam fishing
at midnight.
at midnight.
No parents.
No adult supervision.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. See, and there's a lot of tragedies that happen in the outdoors.
Yep.
Exactly.
And especially in campground settings, a lot of those tragedies happen to children.
Yes.
I mean, they get hit by vehicles, they get hit by ATVs. That's very common. I love how the National Forest Service is, unless the campground's on a designated ATV trail,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
no ATVs allowed off the trailers.
Right.
Yep.
I ran into that up at East Twin today,
Yeah.
and that guy's not happy with me.
No.
I actually nosed my truck across the road.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let him pass. Here he is in an ATV. He's got these fancy, big, tall
two antennas with bright green LED lights on it. Just
Right.
the whole thing's lit up. Looks like it was ready for a parade, for crying out loud. And those in front of it, I got out of the truck, walked around, and said, "You realize?" And it was convenient because there's the pay station. I
Yeah.
said, "You see that? Look on the right hand side, right there. See that sign?
What does it say?
It says no ATVs may be untrailered.
Right.
Yep.
They have to always be on a trailer." And he goes, "Well, this isn't an ATV."
Oh, it was a UTV?
Yeah.
That's an ATV. That's
I
I've
told
heard
him-
that
in
argument so
that-
much
I-
in the last
Yes.
2
Yep.
years.
I told him, I said, "Sorry, that doesn't fly.
That
doesn't
is
fly."
an all-terrain vehicle.
Right. It is still an all-terrain
It
vehicle.
falls under that
And
category.
It's under that category, exactly. And I said, and it's licensed in the same fashion that your
Yeah.
quad
Yeah.
is
Yep.
licensed. It's not licensed through the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
It's licensed through the DNR
That's-
and or the state or county
As an all-terrain vehicle.
as
I
an
was gonna say, I
all-terrain
believe
vehicle.
they're licensed as ATVs.
Yeah, they're licensed as
Yeah.
ATVs. And he goes, "Well, I'd like to know what business it is of yours or not."
Right.
And I said, "It's my business because I'm one of the probably 100 million taxpayers that pay for these
Yeah.
campgrounds to exist.
Mhm.
You need to follow the rules."
They're there for a reason.
And he says, "What campsite are you in?" I said, "That doesn't matter to you.
No.
What matters is that you're breaking that rule."
Yep.
And I said, "And that's actually, they can give you a citation for that."
Yep.
I said, "So you're pointing in the right direction." I said, "I hope you're not coming back." He goes, "Well, I'm in campsite such and such."
Yeah.
I said, "I
So-
hope you got a trailer for that thing, and you need, then what you need to do now is turn around, go back to your campsite, put it on the trailer."
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, "And after you start following the rules, I hope you have a nice day." And I got in my truck, and then I parked, and told you I walked the campground.
Yep.
When I went past his campsite, there it is, sitting on the trailer. And he's sitting at the picnic table with a scowl on his face as he watches me walk by. But he never said a word, but it was on the trailer.
Good,
He had turned around, went back up to his campsite.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, hey. And I kind of waved at him, smiled, even though he was scowling.
Yeah.
And, he did the right thing when he was
Yeah.
called on it,
Right.
but he shouldn't have had to have been called on.
Right.
Right.
And, yeah, I appreciate it. We all make mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if somebody calls us on it, we shouldn't get upset. We should just apologize for
Yeah.
falling short today, and
Yep.
I'll do my best
I'll
never to
fix
do it again. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And so the last one I have.
This one goes right back to that whole respect and allowing other people to enjoy. I get it. People that are here are on vacation. They're here to have fun. But the fun needs to match the setting.
Right.
So let me give you an example. This is not a very big lake.
Right.
It's not very deep.
Right.
A lot of people fish and kayak and canoe on this lake.
Oh yeah.
This is not the lake to have jet skis, ski boats,
I was gonna say
tubing,
Yep.
but they all happen here.
They did it.
Wow.
Because
And-
this,
And the problem is now you're disrupting the other people that want to use the lake. And typically those watercraft are loud.
Yeah. Very loud. And it. I know a lot of people. They say, "Oh yeah, that can be a bummer," but they're supposed to stay so far away from a canoe or a kayak,
Yeah.
and it's not.
But this
Okay,
isn't a big
okay.
enough lake field
this
to
lake
do
is
that.
too
Right.
small.
And the
So
other
you have
issue,
one ski boat on there, and then you have three canoes
right,
and a handful of kayaks. You can't get any more on this lake.
right.
It's just
It's easy to crowd this lake
Yes.
with
It is.
watercraft
yes.
without someone with a big speedboat
Yeah.
or jet skis.
Yep.
This is not a jet ski lake.
No.
If you owned the whole lake and it was yours, go for it. But if other people can use it, jet skis don't
Yeah.
belong
Well-
in this little lake.
Right.
But I think about like your girls. They go, your two little girls go down here and fish.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now you have one of them big speedboats
Yeah.
come flying by here, and they're 50 feet off the shoreline, flying by, and that wake comes in and washes one of them girls in
Yep.
the lake.
Yeah.
That's the kind of garbage you got to worry about.
Absolutely.
And,
And not to mention that boat 50 feet away is probably gonna scare the fish.
yeah.
Oh, and then
Oh yeah.
okay, now you also talking about bigger boats. Now you've got like those 16-foot Aluminacraft fishing boats.
Yeah.
Those we don't see fly across the lake.
No,
And
there's
those aren't the boats
bigger-
we're talking about.
No, they're not.
No.
And I want to make that point that those aren't the ones we're talking about
right.
because they're out on the water to fish. So they're not going to be running around churning it up. They're going to be show a little more courtesy to
Right.
everybody else using the lake as well.
Right.
Mhm.
That's an observation I've made.
When I was here in July, John and Jan and I were in John's little 16-foot
Yep.
aluminum boat, and we're just putzing along. We're trolling, actually.
Right.
Mhm.
And we're heading towards the inlet into the North Bay up there.
Right.
And some guy comes out of the North Bay, and once he got into the deeper waters, about 10 feet deep, when you get into this bay,
Yeah.
he decides to throttle it up, and he goes zipping by us with about a 19, 20-foot wide-hulled bass boat
Okay.
with a 150 horse Mercury. on
That's
it.
too much for this lake.
Yeah.
And that's about a $65,000 boat
Yeah.
Yeah.
on a $10 lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't belong here.
No.
No.
It's not suited for this lake.
And we're not saying you can't
No,
bring that
so-
boat. Just
But don't
operate
use it. Yeah,
Well,
don't
make
use it like
sure-
you're on a big lake.
Try and
Right.
keep in mind the site. Is your boat appropriate
Right.
for the lake? And if a ski boat is the only boat you have and you want to use it, just remember, or try and keep in mind, is going full out the appropriate?
Use the boat appropriately.
Exactly.
For the lake you're on.
For the lake
Right.
you're on.
Not the
That's-
lake you want to be on.
But the
right.
lake you have.
Well, and that's it. This is a fishing and recreation lake for paddlers and small
Yes.
watercraft. And those big watercraft, okay, if that's all you have, like Stephanie said, then you go out here and you run at quarter throttle. You're
Yeah.
Yeah.
not throttling that boat up and flying across the bay and in about 1.5 minutes to cover the whole lake.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you don't need to do it because there's no space to do it.
No.
No.
So use it like it's that little fishing boat,
Right.
like everybody else.
Yeah.
Fit in.
Yeah.
I think that's the best rule is
Yeah.
Yeah.
fit in.
Yeah.
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 So that's the end of my list. Did I miss anything?
I think that's pretty good.
I
did I
think
miss?
I think anything that we may have missed, you need to ask the viewers, and I'm asking my
Yeah.
viewers.
I would agree with ours as well. What
Yeah.
did we miss?
What
Yeah,
did we
let us
miss?
know.
Put it in our comments. Put it down in those comments. Tell us what we missed.
And those of you that follow us but don't follow Sty, we'll have a link to him down below. Check him out, and
Yeah.
I'll have a link at the end of the video as well.
I'll be doing the same. You'll be down in they'll be down in the description. You'll find them there. I'll put it right in the video. I'll put a link in, and right at the close of the video, I'll have that spot in there. You can just click on them and go right to their channel. Make sure to sub to these guys.
And sub to Sty too.
Don't give me any excuses. Don't give me excuses. You just do it.
So make sure you guys like, comment, like Sty already said, subscribe, give us
Yep.
feedback, tell us what we missed, what rules, what unwritten rules
What
did we miss?
experiences? What experiences have you guys had that we haven't and haven't thought of?
Yeah. Very good point. Very good point.
So until next time,
Yeah.
we'll see you guys at our next destination, and you stay safe.
See you later.
And I'll see you over at the Sty Shack somewhere, somehow, some way. Don't forget,
we do live streams. So later, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, don't say goodbye.
Don't say goodbye. What did we forget?
This is all right, time out, cut. I'm going to slip this in someplace. Stephanie did not ruin the chili. The chili was awesome, just the way it was.
It was. It was
Stephanie
very good.
did not ruin the chili. You know, she was the gopher. She put everything together for this guy to fix it. This guy made the chili, so if it was ruined, he would have gotten the finger for it. Just because there was a mistake on which pasta went in.
Hey, we had a conversation about what pasta to put in, though.
Right. We all did agree on which pasta
Yes.
should go in. And, well, we didn't have that one.
No.
But it didn't hurt the chili a
Didn't
bit.
No, not at
flavor.
all.
It didn't
Not
hurt it at all.
No, it was very good chili.
Very good
Stephanie
chili.
knows I like to. We joke together
Oh,
all the
yeah.
time
Right.
about stuff
Yeah, oh,
like that.
yeah.
Right.
But
So
yes,
Yeah.
the
so
chili was very
was
good,
excellent.
and she didn't ruin it.
she didn't ruin it. It was awesome. Other than that, okay, guys, I'll cut this, put it in there somewhere. Talk to you guys later.
Take care.
See
Bye
you
bye.
later.